Today, we're going to talk about something that's really at the core of all leadership. It's the one skill that everything else is built on. We're talking about self-leadership, and we're going to break down how you can actually get good at it.
So let me just ask you something right off the bat. Think about it for a second. Who is the absolute hardest person you will ever have to lead? I mean, think about every team, every project you've ever been a part of. Who's the toughest one?
Yep, it's you. It is always you. And here's the kind of crazy part, right? We have this habit of judging ourselves by our good intentions. Oh, I meant to do that, but we judge everyone else by what they actually do. And that disconnect? That's exactly why leading yourself is so darn difficult. So now we're going to dive into why that happens and, more importantly, what you can do about it. Okay, so first things first, we have to tackle the hidden dangers. The things that trip us up and sabotage our success without us even seeing them coming. We're talking about your leadership blind spots.
So, what exactly is a blind spot? It's not just a one-off mistake. It's a pattern, right? An area where you consistently fail to see yourself or the situation for what it really is. It's that gap between what you intend to do and what your actual impact is. Let's look at the four biggest ones that can totally derail any leader.
First up, we've got the singular perspective. You know this person, the leader who's convinced their way is the only way. The warning signs are pretty clear. They're always steering the conversation back to their thing. They truly believe they're always right. And honestly, it just pushes people away and kills any new ideas. Next on the list is insecurity. Ooh, boy. This is the leader who is constantly worried about how they look. They take way more than they give. They micromanage their team because they just don't trust them. And if someone else succeeds, they feel personally threatened. This kind of thing creates a culture of fear, not collaboration. And right on the heels of insecurity, you've got the out-of-control ego. This is the leader who just dismisses everyone else's ideas, blames the team when things go wrong, and acts like the rules are for other people. It's probably the fastest way to completely lose touch with reality. And last but definitely not least, weak character. Now, this isn't about some huge dramatic scandal. It's the little things. It's the small compromises that add up over time. Missing deadlines, always taking the easy route, shading the truth just a little. Each one of those chips away at trust. And in leadership, trust is everything. It's an absolute deal breaker. Okay, so recognizing these blind spots is huge. It's a critical first step. But it's not enough, right? The big question is, how do you move past them to build a leadership style that actually lasts? Well, the answer is all about building something sustainable. This isn't about quick wins or short-term gains. It's about laying a foundation that you can count on, an unshakable foundation built on four key pillars. Pillar number one is passion. This is your why. It's the energy, the fuel that gets you fired up to take on the day. Without real, genuine passion, you're just going to burn out. And let's be honest, nobody's going to be inspired to follow that. Then, building right on top of that passion, we have our second pillar. Principles. Look, if you're trying to lead in a way that isn't authentic, that isn't really you, it's just not going to last. It's exhausting. Real sustainable success comes from being yourself consistently. Our third pillar is practices. Success doesn't just happen by accident. It's built on what you do every single day. Those small, consistent disciplines, like focusing on what's important and really investing in people, they compound over time. And that's where you see huge results. And pillar number four, maybe one of the most important, is people. The people around you are either going to fill your tank or drain it. It's that simple. So a great leader intentionally builds their network. You need your believers, your cheerleaders. You need achievers to push you. You need conceivers with the big ideas. And you definitely need relievers, the people you can just unwind with. That's the support system that keeps you going. Okay, so we've got our four pillars. That's the foundation. But what about the day-to-day stuff? How do you navigate all the decisions you have to make? Well, you need a compass, and that compass is your core values. You'll find that really effective leaders are guided by a few key things: serving others, having a clear purpose, acting with integrity, nurturing relationships, and making time for renewal. But there's one core quality that holds all of these together, and it's something a lot of us misunderstand. And this just lays it out perfectly. We tend to think of pride as a strength and humility as a weakness, but it's actually the complete opposite. Pride makes you unteachable. It closes your mind to feedback. Humility, though, that's what makes you a learner. It opens you up, helps you see things as they really are, and unlocks your potential. It is the absolute key to growth. All right, we've talked a lot about the foundation, the mindset. Now let's get practical. Let's talk about the how. How do you lead yourself when things get messy, when emotions are running high, and the pressure is really on?
I mean, this is a question every single one of us has to deal with. The first rule of thumb is pretty simple. Never, ever make a big decision when you're at an emotional low point. But life happens, right? Sometimes you just don't have the luxury of waiting. So what do you do then? You need a process, a 5-step filter to run it through. First, do your homework. Get the facts. That helps cut through all the emotional noise. Second, list out all of your options. Don't censor yourself. Third, talk to people you trust. Get some outside perspective. Fourth, listen to your gut. Your instinct is often processing things you haven't even consciously realized. And finally, the most important step of all, make the call based on your principles.
You know, Abraham Lincoln said it perfectly. The idea is that when you make a decision that lines up with your core principles, you can live with it. No matter what the outcome is, you know you did the right thing. You kept your integrity. You can still be at peace with yourself. And really, that brings us to the main takeaway here. If you boil it all down, it's this: an unexamined leader is not worth following. The one thing that separates the great leaders from the ones who fizzle out is that willingness to look inward, to grow, to examine themselves. Because if you're not doing that, you're not just a risk to yourself, you're a risk to everyone you lead. So, let's wrap this up. But this can't just be some interesting idea you heard. It has to be a call to action. I want you to really think about it. Based on everything we've just talked about, the blind spots, the pillars, the values, what is one thing you're going to do starting today to lead yourself just a little bit better?